Put your trust in the Lord. Your ass belongs to me.
In the Shawshank Redemption, we meet Andy, a young successful bank director who right at the start of the movie is innocently sentenced for murdering his wife and her lover. In the movie we see his entering and stay in prison and his adaptation to the situation. Like a fish getting put in new waters.
Unhook him.
This story is an allegory for our own stay in the world. His entrance in prison is symbolic for our birth.
They march you in naked as the day you were born.
We are born as infants, as innocents in a world of darkness and injustice, just as Andy, and just like Andy gets stuck in prison routine.
Prison life consists of routine, and then more routine.
So we get stuck in the routines and habits of daily life.
Just institutionalized.
Red, I do believe you're talking out of your ass.
You believe whatever you want, Floyd. But I'm telling you, these walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, you get so you depend on them.
We are all born free, bearing the germ of wholeness and health, and then life happens. Since children are dependent upon their parents and a culture for the fulfillment of basic needs, they are quickly estranged from that natural being. We are all socialized to serve and maintain the collective, family structures and social institutions that have a life of their own but require the repeated sacrifice of the individual to sustain them. We become institutionalized. The first month he is in prison, he keeps to himself, in which he has time to know himself, which will protect and guide him mentally and emotionally.
I could see why some of the boys took him for snobby. He had a quiet way about him, a walk and a talk that just wasn't normal around here. He strolled like a man in a park without a care or a worry in the world.
His transformation, the individuation process, the undertaking of becoming your perfect self by integrating unconscious elements from the collective unconscious, follows the basic archetypes. He enters prison as a child, as an innocent, where he is subjected to a new regime out of his control. Prison at first is tough for him till he sees an opportunity to put his persona at work, the bank director.
You're that smart banker would kill his wife, aren't you?
He's using his persona to get some beers for his fellow co-workers.
Co-workers, get him, that's rich, ain't it?
Helps the guards with their taxes, builds a library for his fellow inmates, helps others with getting diplomas for an honest living in the world, and uplifts people emotionally.
And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free.
He learns to integrate his shadow by doing dishonest and unlawful things for the director.
You know, the funny thing is, on the outside, I was an honest man, straight as an arrow. I had to come to prison to be a crook.
And makes the confession that he himself is partly responsible for the death of his wife.
I pulled the trigger. I drove her away.
The process hints to his connection with the anima and provides the doorway from the world of darkness and injustice to the other side. Andy makes his exodus, leaves prison through the womb of the anima, which stands for his rebirth and transformation into the archetype of the self. He is baptized, he carries his cross, which means he takes responsibility by sacrifice, handles some unfinished business, and makes his way to the place with no memory.
That's where I want to live the rest of my life. A warm place with no memory.
The sea, where the war of opposites finds peace.
Crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. Andy Dufresne, headed for the Pacific.
Fairly, a polluted stream is man. One must be a sea to receive a polluted stream without becoming impure. Though I teach you, the Superman, he is that sea, in him can your great contempt be submerged. Andy has become his inner man.
Who? Randall Stevens.
Who?
The silent partner.
The self.
But who is he?
He's a phantom, an apparition. Second cousin to Harvey the Rabbit.
The person from his imagination.
Sad, though. Andy being gone. I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright.
He is protected and he's crowned.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
After Andy's escape, the movie goes on with Red, who was from the beginning a good friend of Andy. He embodies the persons who are institutionalized in the world.
I don't think I could make it on the outside, Andy. I'm an institutional man now. It's like Brooks was.
Wow, you underestimate yourself.
who are afraid of the sea.
Pacific Ocean? Shit. About to scare me to death, something that big.
And have no hope in a good and happy ending.
I don't think you ought to be doing this to yourself, Andy. It's just shitty pipe dreams. I mean, Mexico is way the hell down there, and you're in here, and that's the way it is.
He, being a good friend, remembers his promise to Andy, so he decides to go on the path Andy sets him on. The letter and money he finds in a special box under a black volcanic rock near a tree of life, the oak, are all symbolic for the archetype of the self. The little nut that grows into a mighty tree, and the boat, which means there is to be found exceptional power near the sea. For the rock, I like to refer to the biblical story of Jacob and his dream about the ladder to heaven, where he used a rock as pillar. For Jacob, the stone was an integral part of the revelation. It was the mediator between himself and God.
At the base of that wall, you'll find a rock that has no earthly business in a main hayfield.
Red decides to leave his old life behind.
Remember, Red, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies.
And to follow the same road as his friend.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
The ending shows us two individualized persons.
I'm so excited I can barely sit still or hold a thought in my head. I think it's the excitement only a free man can feel. A free man at the start of a long journey whose conclusion is uncertain.
Two opposites, black and white, yin and yang, the perfect balance, able to be one with the sea.